For Olympus E-M1 Mark II I'm gonna release 2 or 3 videos as I want to go into more details with this camera. And first I will discuss video recording. This is actually the first time Olympus really made an effort to develop a proper video mode for one of its cameras, and they made a damn good job. Actually, I'm gonna say it right at the start, and this is something I never thought I was gonna say. Compared to what I use for my YouTube videos, and that's Canon 6D, E-M1 Mark II is better in every aspect. But let's go step by step. Video settings are grouped in a separate menu tab. First item selects exposure mode for video recording. Full manual is available as is expected. Next item is for resolutions, frame rate and bitrates option. This is interesting as there are 7 slots and for each of them you can select different settings. So once you configure them, it will be easy to select between them using quick menu directly from live view. Highest possible quality is 4K at 237 megabits, but that setting is fixed for 24 FPS frame rate and uses 17:9 ratio. Next best thing is UHD, which offers 24, 25 or 30 FPS. Bitrate is once again fixed, but this time at around 102 megabits per second. Only at Full HD is where you get the option to select bitrates at 4 levels and frame rates ranges from 24 to 60 FPS. A detail I found tedious is that bitrates are labeled as superfine, fine and so on, and only way to see numerical bitrate value is to select each and every one, return one step back in menu, and there it is now. It's a bit weird menu system, but more on that in second video where I will discuss overall camera features and still image quality. Noise reduction can be selected in 4 levels, and this is a separate setting for video recording. Still images have a dedicated noise filter in other place in menu system. Next item is called picture mode, but this is actually a flat profile. Don't know why they cannot call it flat profile like everyone else does. No, wait, once you enable it, it is labeled as flat in quick menu, but not in main menu. Come on Olympus, this is confusing. Anyway, it can be enabled or disabled only from main menu, and when disabled, quick menu offers usual picture modes like natural, portrait, muted and so on. Autofocus settings offer usual single, continuous with tracking or manual focus, and you can of course select focus points layout. Next item is image stabilization, so while at it, let's take a look how it works. First, this is without stabilization, so you can get a sense how shaky video can be. Now only mechanical 5-axis sensor stabilization. This is much better, but still a lot of movement translates to video. Finally, combination of sensor and electronic stabilization, which creates the best effect, almost gimbal-like look of smooth floating. I would say this is as good as Panasonic GH5 with dual optical stabilization, hard to say which is better if any. Anyway, definitely among the best on the market. Now, unique feature only Olympus has right now as far as I am aware. All programmable buttons and dials can be assigned independently for video mode. This is truly great stuff. Camera will respond in one way in still image shooting modes, and once switched to video, every single button can be custom assigned for video features. Battery indicator can be set to percentage or approximate remaining minutes of video recording, and this is once again independent setting for video mode. Sound settings offer a lot of options. Recording level can be adjusted separately for built-in and external microphone. There is also volume limiter to prevent clipping, noise reduction in 4 levels, and ability to enable or disable plug-in power depending what type of microphone you use. PCM recorder link is here for Olympus LS100 audio recorder. That's a separate $300 device if you want better sound quality. When connected with USB cable, recording starts and stops at the same time on both the camera and LS100. By pressing OK button on the camera, you can record slate tone. As OMD has headphones output, it is possible to adjust headphones volume. Finally, HDMI output can be set for playback or recording on external recording device. In record mode, it will output clean image with no camera info. Rec bit feature, if enabled, will trigger external recording. Focus magnification is available, but only before you start recording. During recording you can use focus peaking. It is possible to enable or disable it on the fly. So what's missing? Zebra. How could I forget about it beside all other advanced options? I hope it will be included in sub-update. Also, there is no slow motion. With camera being capable of 60 fps still image burst in RAW mode, I wonder why is there no slow motion. 120 or 240 fps in Full HD would be very cool. And now video quality. First I want to show you difference between Cinema 4K and standard ultra high definition and how flat profile affects results. I didn't think there will be much difference, but oh my god. I will show you mostly native pixel for pixel screenshots from original samples, as this is most visible over YouTube. Cinema 4K has so much more fine detail in recordings, it sometimes almost looks like it was shot with two different cameras. Color reproduction is the same and I could notice a bit more noise, you can see that on the water in foreground. But entire video is more crisp and really stands out in quality above UHD setting. This is not the case of simple sharpening, something else entirely is happening under the hood in Cinema 4K mode. If ultimate video quality is your goal, Cinema 4K setting is definitely the way to go. Still, I found myself using regular UHD for most of the time, since it also looks quite good, but is easier to reproduce by slower computers and it doesn't require that much memory card space. For non-critical recordings, I think you can use normal UHD without worries. As for flat profile, I am not that thrilled, as this might not be the true flat profile. More like some sort of artificial shadow, highlight, lifting, stretching, whatever. For me, natural image profile was the most useful, and if needed to adjust for high dynamic range scenes, I was using curves diagram and adjusted shadows and highlights for each scenario on the spot. Here's an example how much can be recovered from shadows using this tool. I would rather get it straight in camera than bother with flat profile and PC grading, but that's just me. Here is what happens with flat profile in the dark. As you can see, it brought out quite more noise, and this pretty much confirms flat profile is not actually flat, but software interpretation that mimics flat look. When talking about low light, results are awesome up to and including ISO 1600. Some slight noise can be observed, but I wouldn't worry about it and would regularly use it at this ISO setting. At ISO 3200 noise starts to be visible, but it depends a lot what picture style is used, noise reduction settings and most of everything how is the particular scene lit. For example, if you have a scene like this, with part of it being bright and part in almost absolute darkness, noise will not be that visible. But as soon as you get gray areas, noise becomes obvious. Interesting comparison, at least for me, is with my Canon 6D, which I use for all of my YouTube videos. Olympus is, well, it's better. Yes, I know, Canon is 5-year-old technology and Olympus is brand new, but if I had to choose between these two for video recording, I would pick Olympus without much thinking. Full HD on Canon simply cannot compare to 4K from Olympus, these are different worlds. Olympus has even better and more accurate color reproduction, usable autofocus, 5-axis sensor image stabilization destroys any lens-based stabilization from Canon, and even in low light Olympus gives cleaner results, including ISO 6400. Still, I am looking forward to see Canon 6D Mark II, which is coming out this year, and that will be a very interesting comparison because these two cameras will retail at around the same price. As for daylight video quality, this is clearly the best Olympus ever by far. And not even that, I think video quality is very good by any standards. You can probably get even more detailed recordings from Sony or Panasonic GH5, but I don't think differences are that big. If your primary application is video, then yes, GH5 is better equipped camera and when used by experienced professional it can create better results. But for those of us who are primarily photographers and got into all these video things simply because we must do it these days, EM1 Mark II is more than enough. Rolling shutter is not that visible, definitely good result in this regard. I would actually say this is better than Panasonic GH5. Crop in video mode compared to still image is applied only when used in combination with electronic image stabilization. For autofocus test I tried 3 scenarios. First, I wanted to see continuous autofocus in situation where I would reframe from close to distance scene and camera was set to pick focus point by itself. EM1 takes roughly between 2 and 5 seconds to adjust in this case. This is far from fast, but at least it doesn't hunt for focus manically in one direction or the other. It is almost like it thinks about it for a second and then adjusts it. For second test I moved focus point on LCD using touch interface. In this case camera generally responded more quickly as it didn't have to think where to focus. It just had to measure focus distance where I told it to. In third test camera was in fixed position and I moved an object closer or further away from it. In this case a lovely 25mm f1.2 lens. Once again roughly between 2 and 5 seconds are needed. I noticed also it is better in adjusted focus from closer to more distant point than the other way around. I tried this once more in low light and it took a whole 7 seconds. Yes, this is slow, but at least there was no irritating focus hunting. When it finally refocused, it did it at once. It took no more than 2 or 3 seconds to return back to distant focus. Compared to Sony Alpha 63 or 6500, Olympus is quite slow, but at the same time it is quite consistent in a matter that it doesn't try to constantly refocus when something small moves in the frame. Look at this pigeon video. I was moving the camera and water fountain in the background created distraction, but the bird remained in the focus entire time, not a single trace of insecurity. This is also very good for one-man video logs. Pay attention how it keeps focus dead on my face without any insecurity. If you have seen my review on Panasonic GX80, you probably remember how that camera drifted all over the place in the same shooting scenario. Okay, Olympus is 3 times more expensive, but I have to compare it with something. Actually, GH5 is direct competitor in features and price to EM1 Mark II. It did quite good in this test, but not perfect. If you pay close attention, you will notice it lost focus for a split second in few occasions. Anyway, while maybe not a market leader in video performance, EM1 Mark II has basically everything needed to produce videos on daily basis as long as you don't need absolute top level quality and features. I hope Olympus will add zebra function at some update and somehow can speed up autofocus, because these two things are what's missing the most in my opinion. But what you get right now are great looking videos with familiar Olympus colors and insanely good image stabilization, which pretty much can eliminate the need for tripod or monopod. It is that good. Personally, I wouldn't have anything against using it as my main camera for YouTube reviews. It is better than what I have right now and doesn't have any major downside for the type of videos I create. That's it for this review. In next video I will talk about general camera performance for still image shooting. You can also check video samples, which I uploaded in separate video in 4K resolution. Link is in the description as always. Don't forget to subscribe, like, support me on Patreon, and thanks for watching.